All right, so here is a video about array lists, if you missed it or you want to recap. So to begin with, we need the library array list, so we must include that. To declare an array list, you have to use, this is how you do it. The type goes in here, and it always has to be an object. So you'll notice if I want to use integers, I can't use int. Yes, I cannot use int. I must use integer. Integer is it's called a wrapper class, and it's used to create an object out of something that isn't, because all array lists must contain an object, cannot just be an int. You try to put an int in there, I'm going to assume it's going to have an issue. I never actually tried because I know I shouldn't, but let's see. Oh, that's my mom. See, has an issue. Required reference. So that's a great error right there. Required. You have to have a reference there. So a reference means I have to have an object. So to do that, there we go. So what I did here was I added values to the array. So array list. So you know when we did this with arrays, any array, we would use brackets. Well, we can't do that here. Any value, say if we wanted to add a value to the third spot, we would do and put an equal sign. That kind of thing is not allowed. We have to use the methods that are assigned to array lists. So in this case, we're going to add integers because that's what we do. So there's really nothing big we have to do anymore with integer. We can just put any integer in like it was a regular number we are used to, even though it is an object here. So I just created an array of random integers between 1 and 6 and put 5 of them into this array instead of making it long and arduous. Okay, so to find the size of the array list, we do dot size. That tells you how long it is, how many items. So right now it's 5. So when I run it, this will output 5 here. So to do that, let's see what happens. I tried to make this so that it wasn't weird for me. I don't know. Let's see how it goes. So the array list, the size of the array list is 5, and in this case, it's going to be different every time I run this. 6, 4, 5, 4, 6. Those are the values that were put into it. So you can output the whole array list by just doing this. As long as the type has a toString, you're good, and you can just output it just like that. All right, the next thing is there's an alternative to add. The alternative to add is add with 2 parameters. So the 2 parameters are the index, so the index value of the array list, and then the value you actually want to enter into it. So this index value must be less than or equal to the size. So in this case, for this particular one, I'm going to just comment this out real quick because I just want to show this one right here on its own. Watch this. I got this all going on here. So this one right here on its own is this. So again, this is another array. I put random numbers in here, so it's going to be different every time, but the length is still going to be 5. And in this case, it's taking a 2 and plugging, a 100 and plugging into the second spot of the index. So this is the 0 spot, this is the 1, 4 was in the 2. It shoves the 4, 2, 2 over and puts 100 in that spot. So that's what add does. You do have to be a little careful though. Over here, your index must be less than or equal to the size. So this is okay. The size of this array right now, I just added a value into it, is now 6. So it's going to add it to the 6th spot. So that means, you know, the 6th index. This is actually okay, even though that index doesn't exist right now. I got this. Even though this doesn't exist right now. So when I'm adding the 15, oh no, this one is good. Sorry. This particular one, this kind of shows how this is sort of a bad thing to do. If I create an array list, a variable with the size of the array list in it, and then I add a value in. So here it was 5. I added the 100 in. Now this is 6. So it's actually putting it into the 6th spot, which is, there's no real issue there. So if I want to show you this, 5 was a bad option to pick. So what I need to do is do nums.size, and that'll add it to the end of the array, not cutting out any, right in the beginning. Okay, so that's what happens with this particular one. So there's 5 elements, 100 goes into the 2nd spot, creating, now this has 6 values. So I want to add it to the very end, the 6th index. So this is the end. Remember, 0, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Now if I attempt to go any higher than that and do that, it has an out of bounds exception. So it's not a compile error, it's a runtime error, because the error occurs when it runs. It says index 7, so I'm trying to go bigger than 7, or I'm trying to go 7 when the size of the array is just 6. So that's important. I'm just going to comment that out so that it doesn't stop my program from running. Okay, so next we're going to talk about set. So set allows you to remove a value from the array. So what happens actually in this particular case, I'm going to set the 3rd value to be 25. So it's actually going to erase whatever was in the 3rd value. But notice I put this in an output line. This actually returns the value in that that was erased. So if 6 was erased, it's going to return it and output it in this output line. So it just kind of holds on to the value for you in case you want to use it somewhere else. Otherwise, the 25 takes its place. So the way that this works, I compile. I hate that you have to do that. Okay, so this particular one, so we've gone through this already. This is the array that we're starting with at this point. So here, right here, I am taking the 3rd spot, so 0, 1, 2, 3. So I'm removing this and putting a 25 into it. Notice that this is the output statement right here. This one right here, I'll line it up a little better. This is the output statement right here. The 3 has been removed. So since it's 3 and 3, I'm going to run this one more time just so you can see it with different numbers, poor numbers. So now when I do this, in this case, the 1 is in that 3rd spot. The 1, I'm telling you, the 1 got removed and 25 was put in its spot because that's what I wanted. With this one, you have to be greater than, you must be less than the size. It must be less than the size. If you do it equal to the size, it will cause an error. So let's just show you what happens. It's just going to be a runtime error. Nums.size. If I just do size, it's going to be an issue. Remember, with add, it isn't. But with set, it is. Because set, the actual index value has to exist already. Okay, the size of the array is 6, so the highest index is that you can choose is 5. So anything at size or bigger is bad. So I'm just going to put that back to 3 there. Finally, I just want to show you a couple things. Oh. Yeah, I did that. Whatever. That's just showing you what I just showed you here. So this particular one here, I want to show you a couple things. One, how do you get a value from an array list? You have to use .get. Now, if you remember, in an array, we use the square brackets and the I. Well, in an array list, it's the name of the array list .get I. So there's no square brackets anywhere in array lists. So I do want you to be careful. This is showing you if you're in a for loop and you're removing things in that for loop, you're going to have mishappens. So you're going to have mistakes happen basically, because every time you remove an element of the array, it shifts everything down, causing an issue where you're going to be skipping values. You're not going to be testing every single value like you should. So give you an idea. This one is checking if something is odd, I'm going to remove it. So what should happen, what I want to actually happen, is I would like it to be removed, want it to remove all odd values. I only like evens, so I'm going to keep all my evens. So sometimes this is going to work, and sometimes it isn't. So this has an even, good. Oh no, there's an odd. One is odd. Why is that? Okay, let's run it again and see what happens. So the very last one should have all odd. Oh good, that one worked. So that one worked. This one didn't. I have 2 ones. So what you can see is when you use a remove in an array list, sometimes you're going to have exactly what wants to happen, and sometimes you're not. See, there's a 3. So 3 wasn't removed. Some of the odd ones were, but they weren't. And the reason is when you, hopefully I went over this in class, but the reason is if I output this array list every single time, every time I remove it, it might show it a little better than just showing it at the very end. So every run of this for loop, we're starting here. So we're looking at this for loop here. I, to start with, is at the 0 spot. 6 isn't, well, this one actually works okay. Let's do one where it doesn't work. This one it actually worked. Okay, so here I have a 5 and a 3 left over here. So we have this array list where we have 1, 2, 3, 4 odd numbers that I want to get rid of. So it goes into the first spot. Oh look, this is odd. So oh sorry, this one is odd. I'm going to remove it. So this is the 0 spot. It gets rid of, it removes the 3. But then this is my new array. I is now 1. So it's not going to check the 5 because I is now 1. It's coming here. So you have to be careful when you're dealing with array lists and removes. There are, of course, ways to deal with this. It's up to style. Sometimes you can just add, if you did remove something, you could subtract 1 from I here. And there's a multitude of other ways to go about doing it, but it's all up to style as to how you want it to work, or you could do it in another way. All right, you have a wonderful day.